I'm James Rice. I'm one of the people who's been working for a number of months now to try to reopen Filmhouse in Edinburgh, which is a cultural cinema that had to stop trading in late 2022 for some complicated reasons. And we've been fundraising to try to get the money together to bring the venue up to a good standard and to spin up a new operation to run it. I'm up here at the moment in the roof space just above Cinema 1. You can kind of see the top of the ceiling, top surface of the ceiling, and some of the light fittings down there. I just came up to have a look around because I hadn't been here for a while. A few months ago, I did another video up on the roof just above here, and at that time, it was a period of really very great uncertainty as to whether there would be any future for Filmhouse, and if so, what it might look like, because it was a pretty steep hill to climb on the funding side, funding angle, and we didn't know if we'd make it. And at that time, I spoke mainly about the past, about rare screenings I'd been to in Filmhouse, great films that I'd been exposed to for the first time, really amazing appearances by filmmakers, brilliant actors, others who've come through the building, and about work that I remember doing with my colleagues when I worked here in the past. And I think that was a good thing to talk about then, because it was about what had been lost and what we want to restore, to bring back, because we think it's important for the community in Edinburgh. But since then, we've had some pretty amazing progress. We heard a few weeks ago that Filmhouse has secured a major capital grant from the UK government's Community Ownership Fund. And that money, together with other funds we've raised, in particular through the tremendous crowdfunder, which has been ongoing, all the support there from people across the city and beyond, and also other donations beyond that from both philanthropic donations and trusts, brilliant support from Screen Scotland on the development funding side, also from City of Edinburgh Council. From all of this taken together, we're now very confident that we're almost there in terms of having enough funding in place in order to work towards reopening Filmhouse later this year. So that is a tremendous leap forward. And really very encouraging indeed. I want to emphasize in particular this big capital grant from the Levelling Up Fund that has kind of unlocked the future. That has been possible because of the incredible support from all sorts of quarters that Filmhouse has had from the very beginning of this sort of period of difficulty. From the moment Filmhouse closed, there were public meetings, there were vigils, there were protests, there were people giving speeches, there were letter writing campaigns to local representatives and even national representatives. There were guerrilla projections on Arthur's Seat, on the building here. There were all kinds of activities. The crowdfunder, of course, as well. It'd be people actually putting their hands in their pocket to support Filmhouse, both the first rushed crowdfunder in 2022 and the current one that's ongoing now, and videos, people doing videos of support from some actually amazing, very prominent actors and filmmakers who know Filmhouse and want it to survive and thrive, and indeed from many other people as well. So all of that, plus the stakeholder engagement with incredible support from Screen Scotland, their absolute determination to help Filmhouse back to life, and from City of Edinburgh Council as well. All of that taken together set the conditions in which securing that big capital grant was possible. So I think it's really important to recognise that, because that really has unlocked a new and a much happier pathway. So anyway, like I said, last time I spoke a lot about the past, about what Filmhouse had been and why I felt that was important. This time I want to talk about the future, because now that we know a path is forward, we're entering a new chapter, and it's hopefully a very positive chapter. And the key thing here is that there's now an amazing opportunity, and of course there's an opportunity now, we think and believe, to just reopen Filmhouse and to bring back a cinema that delivers that kind of extraordinarily diverse programming that's not available elsewhere in Edinburgh. But beyond that even, there's an opportunity to basically do it better wherever we can, to make Filmhouse the best possible version of itself, to improve on what went before. And we've talked a lot during the fundraising phase, for example, about renovating the building, because we need Filmhouse to be actually an attractive, comfortable venue, not a worn-out one. And that is important because, although the loyal cinephile audience will probably come back anyway because of the films, but beyond that, we really want to bring in people from all kinds of backgrounds, including lots of people who may not yet really know what treasures await them if they really engage more fully with the program. We want them to come in, have a good time, want to come back, and bit by bit, perhaps some of them will find their way to really amazing things that they had never dreamt of. So we do need to do the renovation, and we need to improve other things as well. It's not just about the physical space. We need to look at financial sustainability. Financial sustainability. How can Filmhouse be rock solid in terms of lasting not just for a year or 2 years, but for decades in terms of its underlying viability? We need to look at really everything. The program itself, maybe a tall order to improve on that in terms of its cultural range, but we are going to have a fourth screen, so that slightly broadens the goalpost. What can we do with that? Other areas too. I mean, one really important aspect of what Filmhouse has done and done incredibly well in the past is the education and learning program. That's maybe less visible to a lot of people, but it's important. We need to do it again. That's part of the plan. And the landscape there has been evolving significantly in the last few years, especially with screen education becoming part of the Scottish Schools curriculum. That's brilliant. More excellent work from Screen Scotland there, by the way. But with that evolving landscape, how can we make the new Filmhouse be the best possible hub, add the most value to that wider kind of educational landscape? Across everything as well, can we improve, for example, the cafe bar menu? Can the chili nachos be even better? Maybe not, actually. They were pretty close to perfection, if not there. But we can't be complacent. So the point is we want to do everything as well as we can. And so, some of that does come back to the renovation. Like, we want to put in energy efficient lightings, for example, down in Screen 2, which currently have some older light fittings. Well, you might say, well, I just want to watch films, light fittings, that's kind of dull, it's not important. But you wouldn't be quite right, because light fittings do matter. If we can reduce energy use, well, of course, that's good for the environment, but also it costs less money, and that will improve Filmhouse's financial sustainability. And financial sustainability really does matter, because if you can't run the venue on a basis that's sustainable, then you can't carry on showing films to people, and therefore that wider diversity of films on offer would be lost again from Edinburgh. Because films don't show themselves. Anytime you watch any kind of film or moving image anywhere in any context, there's an apparatus through which you have to show it. A cinema is an apparatus run by people in order to bring those dream worlds to life, to bring films to life and invite people into those worlds. All cinemas do that, and that's why all cinemas are good. But Filmhouse does that in a very particular way, and does a whole range of things that the vast majority of other cinemas don't do, and that no other cinema in Edinburgh does. So that's why we've been working pretty hard for quite a long time to try to find a way through for Filmhouse. Looking ahead over the coming months, as we begin this new stage, a lot of the work that we've got to do, that we're going to have to do, is not actually directly about the films. It's about building the apparatus. It's about the physical aspects of the apparatus, the refit of the building, all of that, building Screen 4, but also about building the organization. So we need to recruit a team of people who are going to be the heart and mind and voice of Filmhouse, whose work is going to bring Filmhouse to life. We need to build all the systems and the processes. We need to do a lot of financial planning. There are going to be enormous spreadsheets. There's a lot of that kind of work that has to be done to build the whole mechanism, the apparatus that delivers that great programming to people. And we'll probably talk a lot about all of that, and maybe even seem a bit excited about it, because it's great to see it coming together. But I want everyone to understand that if we're talking about all of these sort of building the apparatus things, about the seats that are going to go in, or about the paint, or about the new light fittings, it's not because we've lost sight of what it's for, right? The whole reason for building this thing, even down to the light fittings, is in order to have a place that can deliver that incredible program of great filmmaking, past and present, from all around the world, that gives people a way into that world of film, where people can come and learn and engage with film in ways that is really can't be done elsewhere in the city, at least. So that means that every little thing we do, every cable we run, every spreadsheet cell that we fill out, brings us that little step closer to the day when we can once again show people films. Thank you very much.